Hey guys, tonight we are floating into a version of Earth that feels like home at first glance, until you look up. You lie back beneath a sky that should be soft and silver with moonlight, but instead you find only darkness, deep and uninterrupted, no comforting glow, no familiar companion drifting overhead. The stars are there, sure, but without the moon you suddenly notice how small you feel, and how silent the night becomes. Also tiny detail, without the moon you probably would not survive very long in this scenario, but don't worry, you are safe here with a pillow under your head. Before we drift deeper into this moonless Earth, if you enjoy slowly sinking into space stories like this, you can gently tap like or subscribe so I can keep creating these nightly journeys for you. Think of it as leaving a small cosmic bookmark so you can find your way back whenever you need rest. And if you want to share your corner of this planet with me, let me know your location and what time you're listening right now. It's oddly comforting to imagine thousands of sleepy humans stargazing together. Now take a slow breath. Dim the lights just enough that the stars feel closer. Let the soft hum of a fan or the quiet of your room become the background universe. And let's begin. You stand on this familiar Earth, but something is profoundly different. The moon never formed. There was no colossal collision with a Mars-sized object billions of years ago. No debris spiraled into orbit to become that glowing companion. This Earth spun into existence alone, without a lunar partner, and the night reflects that solitude. The sky is darker than any night you've ever known. Even in big cities, where streetlights battle the stars, the absence of the moon steals a sense of orientation. There is no comforting disk rising over the horizon. No silver path across the water. There is only a space where a guiding light should be. You tilt your head and try to adjust. The stars seem sharper, more vivid. In the Milky Way's river of light, new constellations pop into view. Astronomers would love this, even though they would also panic because a missing moon changes more than nighttime beauty. People still argue whether the moon is the reason life evolved the way it did. Some scientists believe the tides it creates helped early creatures crawl from sea to shore. Others suggest life would have found another way, but everyone agrees on this. Earth would be stranger without it. You take a step forward and notice the air feels the same. The ground beneath you is solid, but the world is already shifting in subtle ways. The night has a colder personality. Without the moon's bright reflection, the land cools faster after sunset. Shadows don't exist here anymore. Where the moon would cast long, gentle shapes, now everything simply becomes invisible. No hint of your hand in front of your face, unless starlight catches the edges. Animals nearby grow nervous. Darkness has always been a hunting ground. Tonight it becomes a full-time rule. And there's another change you don't see yet. With no moon to tug on Earth's crust and oceans, the rotation is quicker. A day is shorter. You may not notice a few minutes trimmed away, but your body clock does. Circadian rhythms twitch in confusion. Plants that rely on lunar cycles to time their flowering or spawning events must invent new internal calendars or vanish from the story altogether. Even coral reefs, which glow and release their eggs by the lunar clock, never learned that dance. Entire ecosystems that evolved in harmony with those phases need a brand new conductor. The sea, just beyond the shore, lies oddly calm tonight. No strong tides roll in and out. Waves are minimal, just whispers of motion. They do not race up the beach or pull back to reveal hidden pools. Fishing villages in this world are quieter because fishermen cannot predict the sea with the same confidence. Tidal pools, the cradle for early evolutionary experiments, are rare now. So many creatures that used to rely on the moon's gravitational lullaby never arrived on land. Earth's history here is missing chapters. You glance back up at the stars. There is beauty in this sky. It feels ancient, raw, untouched. Sailors would have hated this, though. Celestial navigation becomes harder when your most reliable night marker never existed. Maybe humanity never traveled far across oceans. Maybe we stayed local, shaping myths around a star-only sky. With no moonlit wolves howling, no lunar goddess to inspire stories, our imaginations spin in a slightly different direction. Romance feels a little less cinematic, without a glowing orb to frame that first kiss. Werewolves are definitely unemployed. On the bright side, nobody worries about full moon weirdness. Emergency rooms might notice fewer "I thought this was a trampoline" accidents. You close your eyes and listen. The quiet feels thicker than usual. Without moonlight, nocturnal animals whisper instead of shout. Prey hides better, predators hunt slower. This is a world where evolution rewards careful shapes and stealth. Owls might be legendary here. Humans with our weak night vision probably sleep earlier and wake earlier. We could have become a species of morning people. Terrifying idea, right? Earth's oceans and atmosphere keep the planet familiar for now, but beneath the peaceful facade, consequences are gathering. When Earth spins faster, the equator bulges slightly more, changing how the planet distributes its weight. The winds behave differently. Storms take unfamiliar routes. This version of Earth still wants balance, but without the moon's gravitational guidance, it stumbles slightly off rhythm. You can feel it in the breeze that comes and goes like a heartbeat unsure of its tempo. You stretch out your hand again and wish for a moonbeam to catch the outline of your fingers, but there is nothing. You are alone with the stars and a planet that feels like a dear friend missing an essential part of itself. And as we walk into this story together, you realize the missing moon is not just an absence in the sky. It is an absence in Earth's identity, a piece of balance removed, a companion erased from history. Yet here you are, breathing, curious, safe in this moment. Even if this version of Earth might eventually tilt toward chaos, tonight we simply explore, step by quiet step. There is still much more to discover. You walk closer to the shoreline, drawn by instinct. The ocean has always been a storyteller, and tonight it murmurs a different tale. Without the moon, the sea has lost its most loyal dance partner. The tides that once surged high and fell low now barely breathe. Water still moves, pulled gently by the sun's gravity, but it is timid, shy, afraid to rush. You stand where waves should lap at your ankles and feel only a light brushing, like the ocean is thinking about touching the sand and then changing its mind. You crouch and drag your hand through the cool shallows. It feels still, as if frozen in a kind of indecision. In our moonlit Earth, the tides come and go with rhythm and confidence. Entire coastlines pulse with that heartbeat. Without it, the ocean loses its voice. The great mixing of salt and nutrients slows to a sluggish crawl. Where once seawater churned life into motion, now it rests too long, letting heat settle in strange places, letting pockets of stagnation grow. Scientists still debate how much the moon shaped life's origins, but most agree that the tidal zones, those magical borders between wet and dry, acted like laboratories for evolution. Pools that filled and drained each night forced early creatures to adapt, to crawl, to breathe air, to try something new. But here, those tidal laboratories never existed. You run your fingertips along shells that seem oddly light. The crabs scuttling near you look tentative, as if they are still deciding whether land is worth it. Without the moon's encouragement, many species remain married to the sea, hesitant to explore. Land ecosystems in this world are younger, fewer, and strangely quiet. Forests may exist, but life moves through them in slower, simpler forms. The shoreline stretches ahead like a smooth ribbon, untouched by the dramatic carving of powerful tides. Beaches are narrower, cliffs erode more slowly. Without the lunar pull to shape them, coastlines seem unfinished, as though Earth never quite learned how to paint its edges boldly. You take a few steps into the water, feeling it cool against your legs. The ocean is deeper here than in your Earth. When the tides weaken, water does not redistribute as efficiently. Vast areas that should be shallow remain submerged. Coral reefs that once thrived in sunlit shallows grow sparse and dull in dimmer light. Sea turtles struggle too. Many species rely on moonlight to navigate beaches and find their way to the water after hatching. Here, without that shimmering cue, the hatchlings wander lost. guided by instincts that developed incorrectly. You imagine tiny turtles turning in circles, unsure which direction leads to the vast protective blue. Night fishing traditions never developed on this earth. Sailors gave up on reading the sea during darkness long ago because the ocean refuses to reveal itself without moonbeams sparkling on its waves. And although stars are bright, they do not tell you where the shoreline begins or ends. People tell stories of ancestors stepping off docks into black water they could not see. You pause, listening to the lazy wash of tiny waves. On your Earth, tides also help generate currents, swirling water that balances temperature and nutrients across the globe. Without this constant stirring, climate becomes moodier. Some regions bake in warmth, while others remain locked in cold. Storms develop sudden personalities, unpredictable and sharp. Hurricanes might still form, but they follow paths that surprise even the best forecasters. A seagull glides overhead, wings silent. It calls out, but the sound feels quieter than you expect, muffled by a world that has fewer cues to stay awake. Many coastal animals evolved with the moon as their lighthouse. Innumerable species breed on full moon nights or travel using its reflection. Tonight, those stories never existed. No moonlit rituals, no synchronized glimmers of plankton lighting up the shore in glowing tides, no romantic walk beneath a silver path on the water. You take in the scene again and notice something slightly eerie. Without tides breathing against the land, there are fewer footprints, less evidence of visitors. The boundary between ocean and land feels neglected, almost lonely. You look into the darkness beyond the waves and feel that loneliness stretch far beyond your vision. Surfers on this planet must be so bored. Waves are timid, barely rising enough to bother the sandcastles children build. Surfboards here are dust collectors in beachside shacks. A surfer might say the moon took the fun with it. At least no one needs to worry about a rogue wave stealing their sandwich. As you stand there, letting the sea surround you, you feel Earth's rotation slightly faster than what feels natural. The absence of the moon's gravitational drag means Earth spins more freely. Days are shorter, and coastlines experience faster cycles of light and dark. Marine life that once relied on a slow, steady rhythm must now adjust to a jittery clock. Sea creatures rise to the surface a bit earlier each day, confused by the ever-shifting schedule. Fishermen set off before dawn, but always risk running late because dawn arrives too soon. You let the softness of the waves hug your ankles again. In this world, the ocean is learning to be quiet without the moon's instruction. Over millions of years, life adapts anyway. Maybe different organisms arise, clever in ways we can't predict. Perhaps jelly-like forms crawl ashore eventually. Maybe giant kelp forests dominate coastlines. Scientists would be thrilled to study such possibilities. Philosophers would remind us that life always finds a way. People still argue whether tides are essential for intelligence to evolve, but imagination fills in the blanks. You breathe again, feeling the salt in the air. For now, this ocean is gentle, almost shy. You sense it wants guidance. A leader, a moon. But since none was ever there, it crafted its own quiet routine. Softer, weaker, yet still alive. It may not splash proudly, but it continues. And as the wind brushes your skin, you realize something bigger is at play. Earth always tries to balance itself. Even a world without a moon learns to move. But beneath this tranquil surface, new problems are brewing. If the seas are changed, what about the land? Without the moon's stabilizing influence, Earth's tilt is next to shift. We'll walk into that wobbling future soon. For now, stand in the shallows and listen to the smallest tide in the universe, breathing in and breathing out, a living memory of a moon that never existed. You leave the shoreline behind and walk inland, where tall grass shifts restlessly in the night breeze. Something feels unstable here. As you look toward the horizon, you notice the stars move across the sky faster than feels natural. Not wildly fast, just enough that your internal clock whispers that the day should have lasted a little longer before sleep arrived. This Earth spins freely, unanchored by a lunar companion, and its tilt is beginning to show the consequences. On our Earth, The moon acts like a loyal stabilizer. It holds Earth's axial tilt to about 23.5 degrees, give or take tiny fluctuations. That tilt gives us seasons and keeps them relatively consistent over long stretches of time. Here, though, the axis wanders. Not like a wobbling carnival ride that throws passengers around, more like a slow sway, a gentle wandering over thousands of years. But even gentle wandering has a way of reshaping everything. You run your hand along the grass, and for a moment it brushes your arm as if confused by the mild coolness. Seasons are unpredictable here. Summers may be scorching for centuries, then mellow out into moderate warmth, then suddenly disappear into long ages of ice. Earth struggles to choose a personality and sticks with none of them for very long. You look to the sky again. Without the moon's guidance, the axis can tilt further than ever. Sometimes Earth leans toward the sun more dramatically, giving one hemisphere endless daylight for months. Other times it tips away too far, leaving regions trapped in near-permanent winter. People still argue whether humans could truly thrive in such chaotic cycles, or would constantly wander, chasing sunlight like migratory beings of confusion. One thing is certain: agriculture would be a high-stakes gamble. Farmers would roll their seeds into uncertain futures. You continue walking and notice the trees around you have weathered the instability in strange ways. Some are built for heat, their leaves thick and waxy, as if guarding moisture. Others crave cold, with needles adapted to long winters. It is as if the forest has split personalities, always preparing for the next climatic mood swing. Animals adapt too. Some species hibernate not for months but for years. Others develop migratory routes so extreme they circle half the planet, searching for zones that aren't going through seasonal tantrums. The nights are darker here, but the days are brighter. With shorter days and faster rotation, the sun streaks across the sky quickly and sets with little patience. You notice that dusk is brief. Shadows stretch long for only a few minutes before dissolving into blackness. And in the darkness, you feel the tilt changing the stars' positions subtly, night after night. On our moonlit Earth, the North Star stays fixed, a constant point of navigation. Here, no such guide exists for long. Sailors and explorers must redraw maps often. Astronomers throw their hands up in exasperation. Romantics have trouble keeping up with which constellation signals a good night for a date. Astrology in this world must be a nightmare. What's your sign? It changed last year. Horoscopes would read like weekly lottery numbers, zero reliability, tons of enthusiasm. As you continue onward, dry leaves crunch under your feet. Even the soil beneath you isn't entirely sure whether it should be a tropical paradise or a chilly tundra. Some areas swing wildly between those extremes over centuries. Civilization here, if it exists, probably builds cities with portability in mind. Homes are designed to be relocated. Traditions travel with the seasons. Humans who settle down risk finding themselves trapped in an unfriendly climate shift. Suddenly the wind changes direction, sharp and cool. Weather patterns follow Earth's tilt like nervous followers. Storms gather in unexpected places. Hurricanes flirt with the poles. Snow falls on beaches once every 1,000 years, and then not again for 10,000. Climate scientists in this world either have the most fascinating careers imaginable, or they quit to take up peaceful hobbies like knitting sweaters for confused squirrels. You pause, realizing that in the timeline of this alternate Earth, ice ages can come and go with startling frequency. Rising sea levels from melting poles can swallow coastal civilizations. Then sudden freezes return and trap coastlines in ice. Humanity, if it thrives here, must be resilient, constantly adapting, rebuilding, learning to love change. You picture migrating towns like caravans moving under shifting skies. Not nomads by choice, but nomads by necessity. Above you, the stars glide faster still. You tilt your head and try to imagine what it must feel like for Earth itself. It twists slightly. a bit like a dancer spinning without a partner's balancing touch. It isn't chaotic enough to fling you into space, but enough to keep the planet guessing, enough to change everything life depends on. Remember how the sea earlier felt uncertain, unsure whether to rise or retreat? The land feels that same uncertainty. Without the moon to pull gently on the oceans and the crust, tectonic rhythms change too. Some theories suggest the moon may contribute to the subtle stirring inside Earth, helping regulate volcanic activity. Without that influence, the pattern may shift. Maybe eruptions become rarer, leaving Earth geologically quiet and sleepy. Or perhaps pressures build silently over millennia, resulting in sudden monstrous eruptions that rewrite coastlines overnight. Scientists still wonder which outcome would dominate, and in this world, you do not have the luxury of knowing in advance. You find yourself longing for a calm, predictable cycle, a year where you know autumn will come, and with it the colours of falling leaves. Here, leaves might fall only when the planet decides it is done holding its breath. A season of colour could last 10 years, or 1 month, or not appear for 1,000 sunsets. How do you plan a picnic here? You don't. You simply walk with the weather and hope it smiles on you today. You stop on a small hill, sensing the planet shifting beneath your feet in a way only your imagination can detect. There is no moon in the sky. It never existed. And yet you feel its absence as deeply as if someone stole a piece of Earth's soul. The breeze calms. The grass grows still. You take a breath, knowing this wobble affects more than weather and seasons. It reaches into the habits of every creature that sleeps and wakes. And next we follow those creatures into a world where the night has lost its rhythm. You walk into a quiet valley where the air feels cooler and the darkness wraps itself around every leaf, every stone, every breath you take. Nights without the moon are not just dark, they are absolute. A darkness that doesn't soften or shimmer, a darkness that never learned to compromise. It is the kind of night that swallows outlines, erases distance, and makes shadows irrelevant, because there are none. This is a night where the smallest movement sounds loud enough to wake the stars. You stop and let your eyes adjust, but your eyes are human, and humans are creatures that evolved with moonlight to help guide them through nighttime uncertainty. Our pupils widen, but they still plead for the faintest glimmer to read the world around us. Here, there is no glimmer, only starlight too distant to shape the ground beneath your feet. You imagine ancient humans living here, learning fear earlier. Fire would have been invented out of panic, not curiosity. Creatures around you move differently. Without the moon's glow, nocturnal animals evolve sharper senses. Their ears swivel like tiny radar dishes. Their whiskers reach ahead like fingers probing the void. Their nostrils taste the wind. Predators have no lunar spotlight to help them stalk. Prey has no shadow to betray its hiding place. It levels the playing field into a silent chessboard, where survival depends on being quieter than the wind. Many animals on our Earth time their reproduction with the moon, coral spawning, certain fish migrations, even insects syncing their flights to lunar brightness. But in this world, nature must invent new clocks. Maybe some plants glow faintly at night to signal pollinators. Maybe animals communicate with low vibrations you can feel in your chest. Maybe fireflies become the timekeepers of the world, blinking out schedules like tiny lanterns in the grass. You hear rustling nearby. A creature watches you, not with fear, but with practiced patience. In this deep darkness, eyes don't help much. Sound does. It probably already knows everything about you. Your height, your footsteps, even how nervous your heartbeat just became. You smile weakly and keep moving, because pretending to be in control is part of the human package. What if humans here got bat ears? You imagine everyone walking around with hilariously oversized ears picking up gossip from 3 neighborhoods away. Ear fashion would be wild. Headphones would be huge. Whispering would be illegal. But beneath the laugh, a truth hums. Humans in this world truly would be different. Maybe we develop more sensitive night vision. Maybe our pupils are enormous and kind of adorable. Maybe our sense of smell tells us which fruit is ripe and which one is plotting against us. Evolution never wastes time when survival is on the line. And sleep itself changes. On our Earth, moonlight rhythm gently influences our sleep cycles. More light during a full moon, a subtle cue that affects even city dwellers. Here, nights are always the same level of black. Your brain finds no transitions, no gradual softening. Sunset jumps straight into a darkness that signals deep sleep immediately. People probably fall asleep fast, but they might also wake quickly in a panic when survival instincts misfire. Imagine alarm clocks being invented not for waking up, but for calming the startle response. Cities, if they exist, would glow brighter. Artificial light becomes humanity's replacement moon. Streetlights are taller. Windows spill golden warmth onto roads so children do not learn fear too early. Festivals might center around giant lanterns instead of lunar phases. Skylines stretch upward as symbols of defiance against eternal night. You step onto a rocky ledge. Below, a lake reflects the faintest star shimmer. Without the moon's bright reflection, water loses its sparkling charisma. On our Earth, lovers stand by lakes and watch the moon ripple like a silver coin tossed into a well. Here, lovers hold each other a bit closer because the water gives nothing back. Romance adapts. People still find beauty, but it is a quieter beauty, a beauty that makes you lean in to see it. Recall earlier how the coastal world lost rituals guided by tides. Here inland, traditions evolve more from sound than sight. Songs become navigation tools, drums measure time, lullabies help entire communities breathe together in the dark. Humans create constellations not to decorate the sky, but to claim a little ownership over the frightening unknown. Still, fear lingers with the night. You feel it too, the urge to look over your shoulder, the sense that the darkness might have teeth. The moon on our Earth offers comfort simply by existing, a reminder that the sky cares. Here, there is no such reminder. Night is honest about its wildness. It does not hide how big the universe truly is. You take another breath, and the darkness softens, just a little, because your body understands something important. Darkness is not emptiness. It is a cradle, a place where life rests, heals, and dreams. Creatures close their eyes peacefully now, whether they evolved under a moon or not. And in that calm exhale of the world, you begin to wonder, if Earth can adapt this much, what about the thinking beings who call it home? What kind of stories do they tell? How do they understand a sky that never learned to smile back? Ahead lies the answer. Humanity under this darker, stranger sky. Let's walk there together. You follow a narrow dirt path that winds upward toward a gentle rise. The night around you remains deep and heavy, but in the distance, a warm cluster of lantern lights flickers. Humanity is here, not gone, not defeated, just different. People learn to thrive without the moon, because that is what humans do. We adapt, we imagine, we survive with stubborn creativity. As you approach, you notice the settlement is built like a constellation on the ground. Homes arranged in patterns that help everyone navigate by memory, since sight alone is not trustworthy in this darkness. Windows glow like stars, each one a quiet promise that the fear of night can be softened with warmth and community. Torches line the pathways. Their flames dance like tiny rebellions against the sky's emptiness. You step inside a small courtyard where a few people gather around a shared fire. They nod at you, calm and curious. These humans evolved in a world without moonlight and without reliable seasons. Their clothing is adaptable, layered and flexible, designed for sudden weather changes. Their eyes might be wider than yours, tuned to detect the shapes that darkness tries to hide. Their hearing is sharp. They know when rain is coming just by how distant footsteps change their echo. Children here grow up with lantern festivals. Instead of watching a full moon rise, they release glowing orbs into the sky to pretend there is something big watching over them. Once a month, they gather to remember that even if the heavens forgot to give them a companion, they can make their own. Laughter rises, light floats, and for a moment, the sky feels less empty. On our Earth, myths about the moon-shaped culture, lovers write poetry about its glow, sailors swear it guides them, werewolves, romantic dinners, horror stories, crop cycles, lunar calendars, gone here. People still argue whether life needs mythology to thrive, but here human imagination chooses new symbols. The North Star serves as a guardian spirit sometimes, though it wanders across the sky over centuries. Some cultures worship the constellations themselves, believing each star is an ancestor who climbed too high. Others see darkness as sacred, a blanket protecting dreams. You sit by the fire, warming your hands. Humans in this world track time by the stars. Hourglasses and water clocks are treasured tools. Calendars feel like educated guesses. Birthdays are less exact, but celebrations are more frequent. Philosophy thrived early here. When night is endless and unchanging, you start asking questions sooner. A sky with no moon forces curiosity to bloom like wildflowers pushing through stone. Travel requires bravery. Entire expeditions leave towns in search of lands unknown, guided only by memory, instinct, and the faint shimmer of star reflections on rivers. Astronomy is both a science and a survival skill. Without a moon to stabilize Earth's tilt, knowledge of the skies becomes essential. When the world suddenly blossoms into warmth after centuries of cold, farmers adapt. When the sky changes the star map, navigators rewrite it overnight. Humor finds its place even here. You hear someone joking about how people from long ago might have believed a giant invisible cat ate the moon before it was even born. Another laughs about how nice it must be not to schedule weddings around lunar cycles. Practical jokes probably involve taking someone's lantern and making them wander in harmless circles until they panic. Good friends, chaotic energy. Yet beneath the laughter is a quiet yearning. Humans still feel that something is missing. They look up and know there should be a soft companion orbiting their world, a neighbor, a protector, a friend who lights the path home. Some nights, the emptiness feels like a memory of something never given. You gaze upward with them. Without the moon, space feels closer. The stars feel louder. Their twinkling seems like whispered invitations. Explorers here likely reached out to space sooner, driven by curiosity and longing. Telescopes point at planets with suspicion and hope. Maybe one day they search for a moon elsewhere. Maybe one day they build one. Remember how the sea in this world seemed uncertain, unsure how to breathe. Remember how the seasons wobbled like a dancer without a partner? Humans adapt to that wobble too. We build traditions that shift, cultures that flex, hearts that expand. Humanity becomes a species that finds stability within itself. No matter the sky, you remain a creature who looks up, wondering, hoping, dreaming. You close your eyes and take in the warmth of the fire. Without the moon, humanity didn't give up. It simply learned to glow on its own. Settle a little deeper. Let your shoulders soften. You have walked through a world that never knew a moon, yet still managed to survive in its own unusual rhythm. All the challenges remain real. The seas still whisper quietly without tides. The seasons still drift and wobble. The animals still move with careful grace, and the humans still shine lanterns against the darkness. But right now, in this moment, you do not need to solve any of that. Breathe slowly. Find the steady tide inside your chest, the one that doesn't need lunar guidance to rise and fall. Let the room around you dim like that moonless world. Let the quiet become comforting instead of empty. Even without the moon, night can be peaceful. Your heartbeat keeps time. Your breath writes the rhythm. The blankets around you can be your shelter, like the soft walls of those lantern-lit homes. The darkness around you is gentle. It is simply waiting, holding space for dreams. Imagine a soft glow forming somewhere far above, not a moon exactly, but a promise. A calm point of light that watches over you. It doesn't need a perfect orbit or a scientific reason to be there. It just supports you, quietly, kindly. The world outside your window continues turning, steady and patient. And you, right here, are allowed to let go. Any worries, any leftover noise from your day can drift away like tiny stars fading into morning light. Let your eyes grow heavier. Rest in the thought that even a lonely sky can still be full of wonder. Let yourself drift. Good night. Rest well. You are safe to sleep now.